Most of these acts never managed a second hit. What they had instead was one record that refused to die, still turning up in films, commercials, ballparks, and hit cover versions, still cutting checks 60 years later. So today, we're counting down 15 one-hit wonders from the 1960s that still make millions after decades. Number 15. Wipe Out by the Surfaris. Five high school kids from Glendora, California, walked into a small studio in Cucamonga in late 1962 with a song called Surfer Joe and a problem. They needed something for the B-side. So Bob Berryhill, Pat Connolly, Jim Fuller, and Ron Wilson knocked out an instrumental on the spot, built around a drum cadence Wilson had learned in his high school marching band. For the opening, they cracked a piece of lumber near the microphone, and their manager Dale Smallin added the cackling laugh that everyone still recognizes. Nobody in the room thought it mattered. Disc jockeys flipped the record over, and by the autumn of 1963, Wipe Out had reached number 2 on the Hot 100, held off the top by Stevie Wonder. Then it kept coming back. Re-released in 1966, it charted all over again at number 16. It has been recorded by more than 100 other acts, from the Ventures to the Smashing Pumpkins, and turned up in more than 20 films and television series. In 1987, a version by the Fat Boys with the Beach Boys reached number 12 in America and number 2 in Britain. Sha Na Na played it at Woodstock. The Surfaris themselves, who had shared a single amplifier and needed their parents to drive them to gigs, had to sue Dot Records to get their share of the money. The tune has been earning steadily ever since. Number 14. Sukiyaki by Q Sakamoto. The song was never called Sukiyaki. Its Japanese title translates roughly as I look up as I walk, and lyricist Rokosuke A wrote the words on his way home from a student protest, frustrated that the demonstration had achieved nothing. Hachidai Nakamura wrote the melody, and a young singer named Q Sakamoto recorded it in Japan in 1961. A British label boss renamed it after a beef hot pot dish, purely because the word was short and recognizably Japanese. One American columnist compared it to releasing Moon River in Japan under the title Beef Stew. The rename stuck, Capitol picked it up, and in June 1963, a record sung entirely in Japanese went to number 1 in the United States for 3 weeks. Nothing like it has happened since. The single has sold in the region of 13 million copies worldwide, and it remains Sakamoto's only American top 40 entry. The afterlife is where the money is. More than 100 artists have recorded it. A Taste of Honey took an English-language version to number 3 in 1981. The group 4 PM reached number 8 with it in the mid-90s. Slick Rick borrowed the melody, and Selena sang it in Spanish. When Sakamoto flew into Los Angeles to promote it, Billboard reported that 4,000 teenagers stormed the airport to meet him. NASA later played an instrumental arrangement up to the crew of Gemini 7, which made it one of the first pieces of music ever beamed to people in orbit. Sakamoto himself died in the Japan Airlines crash of August 1985. The song he sang at 19 has outlived nearly everyone involved in it. Number 13. Surfin' Bird by the Trashmen. A garage band from Minneapolis heard another local group playing a Rivington song one night in 1963, decided to play it themselves, and mashed 2 of those songs together on stage. Drummer and singer Steve Warrer stopped playing partway through and started making noises that no one has been able to describe properly since. A disc jockey in the crowd told them to record it. They cut it at K-Bank Studios in Minneapolis, and it reportedly sold 30,000 copies in its first weekend. By late January 1964, it had reached number 4 on the Hot 100, days before the Beatles landed in America and swept the surf era away. Here is where it gets expensive. Because the record was built from the Rivingtons' material, the writing credit went to that group's 4 members. Every time the song appears in a film, a television episode, a video game, or an advert. That credit is what gets paid. The Trashmen were left with performer royalties. Their first check came to $1.88 each. There is a wonderfully awkward clip from American Bandstand in January 1964, in which Warrer performs alone because management wouldn't fly the rest of the band to Philadelphia. A baffled Dick Clark asks where the strange noises came from, and Warrer blames watching too many Tarzan films. The record has never gone quiet. Stanley Kubrick used it in Full Metal Jacket. The Ramones covered it. A 2008 episode of Family Guy built an entire storyline around it and introduced the thing to a generation that wasn't born until 30 years after it charted. Number 12. Rescue Me by Fontella Bass. Fontella Bass had been playing piano for money since she was 5 years old, accompanying her grandmother at funerals in St. Louis. In August 1965, she walked into Chess Records in Chicago and cut a song worked up during a rehearsal room jam, backed by a house band that included 2 future members of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Partway through the take, she lost the sheet of paper with her lyrics on it and improvised her way through, humming to fill the gaps. Those improvised syllables became the part everyone imitates. Rescue Me went to number 4 on the pop chart and spent 4 weeks at number 1 on the R&B chart, giving Chess its first million-selling single since Chuck Berry a decade earlier. Bass always said she had helped write it and was promised a credit that never appeared. She tore up her first royalty check and threw it back across the desk. Then, on New Year's Day 1990, sitting in a house heated only by the kitchen stove, she heard her own voice coming out of the television in an American Express commercial that nobody had cleared with her. She sued, and in 1993 settled with the company and its advertising agency for $50,000 plus punitive damages. From that point on, she controlled where her voice went, and the song has been licensed steadily ever since, in films, television, and adverts. She died in 2012. Number 11. Dirty Water by the Standells. The Standells were a Los Angeles band who had never set foot in Boston. Their producer, Ed Cobb, had, and it hadn't gone well. He had been robbed on a bridge over the Charles River, and he turned the experience into a song about a filthy river, a curfew, and a city he was in no hurry to revisit. Drummer Dick Dodd, 20 years old and a former Mouseketeer, sang lead. The band rebuilt Cobb's demo into something rougher, added the guitar figure, and released it in 1965. It climbed to number 11 the following year, and later became a cornerstone of the Nuggets compilation that gave garage rock its name.
Boston, you're my home.
Boston, by every logic, should have hated it. Instead, the city adopted it. Since 1997, Dirty Water has blasted out of the speakers at Fenway Park after every Red Sox home win. The Bruins followed, then the Celtics, then Liverpool Football Club, which shares an owner with the Red Sox. That is a song being performed in front of tens of thousands of people, several hundred times a year, in perpetuity, plus the commercials, the campaign rallies, and the cover versions. In 2004, the Standells were flown out at a day's notice to play it at Fenway during the Red Sox's curse-breaking World Series run. Ed Cobb, incidentally, also wrote Tainted Love. Larry Tamblyn, who founded the band, died in March 2025, still watching a song about a river he had never seen pay its way.
Well, I love that dirty water.
Number 10. 96 Tears by And the Mysterians.
96 tears.
A band of young Mexican-American musicians from Michigan recorded it in a living room in Bay City on a tiny local label, with a cheap combo organ carrying the whole thing. The singer called himself ? Wore sunglasses indoors and out, and eventually changed his legal name to the punctuation mark. He has never publicly appeared without the glasses. They were teenagers, several of them from families who had come north as migrant farm workers, and the first pressing came out on a tiny local label before anyone in the industry had heard of them. Cameo Records picked it up, And in October 1966, a record made for almost nothing went to number 1 in America. It has been credited ever since as one of the founding documents of both garage rock and punk, and it sits near the front of the Nuggets collection.
And you'll start crying.
The ownership story is the twist. The Cameo Parkway catalog was bought by Alan Klein's ABKCO in 1967, and then largely kept out of print for the better part of 40 years. For decades, you could hear 96 Tears on oldies radio any day of the week and struggle to buy a legitimate copy of it, which did the band no favors at all. The song itself never stopped working. Aretha Franklin recorded it. So did Big Maybelle, Todd Rundgren, The Stranglers, Garland Jeffries, and Thelma Houston, and every one of those versions generates writing royalties. The catalog was finally reissued in 2005, and the original recording has been earning openly ever since.
1960.
Number 9. I Fought the Law by the Bobby Fuller Four. Sonny Curtis wrote it. He had joined the Crickets after Buddy Holly's death, and he knocked the song out in a matter of minutes in 1958. The Crickets recorded it, and almost nobody noticed. Bobby Fuller did. A young musician from El Paso who chased Buddy Holly's sound the way other people chase a religion, Fuller cut a version with his own band in Los Angeles and released it in early 1966. It reached number 9 on the Hot 100 and made him, briefly, one of the most promising figures in American rock. In July of that year, 5 months after the record charted, Fuller was found dead in a car outside his Hollywood apartment. He was 23. The official ruling has never satisfied anyone, and the case is still argued over 60 years later. The song went on without him, and it went everywhere. The Clash recorded it in 1979, which is how most younger listeners first met it. Dead Kennedys rewrote it. Green Day, Status Quo, Hank Williams Jr., Roy Orbison, and Bruce Springsteen have all played it. It has been used in films, television dramas, and advertising campaigns for decades, and every single one of those uses pays Sonny Curtis, who wrote it in an afternoon, and who also happened to write the theme song to The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Number 8. Incense and Peppermints by Strawberry Alarm Clock. This one is a masterclass in how not to arrange your paperwork. A Los Angeles band called The Sixpence had a single planned in 1967. The A-side was to be a track called The Birdman of Alcatraz. For the flip, they used an instrumental idea built by keyboardist Mark Weitz and guitarist Ed King. Their producer sent the finished music to John Carter, who wrote a lyric for it. When the label copy was drawn up, an argument broke out between the producer and the band's manager over whose names would appear. What came out of that argument were 2 names, Carter and his partner, Tim Gilbert, neither of whom was in the band. Then, when it came time to sing, nobody in the group sounded right. A 16-year-old visitor to the studio named Greg Munford took the lead vocal. He never joined the band and never performed it with them live. Local Los Angeles stations flipped the single and started playing the B-side instead. Uni Records picked it up for national distribution, and the sides were swapped round for the re-release. Renamed Strawberry Alarm Clock, they watched their throwaway go to number 1 in November 1967 and sell over 1 million copies, carrying an album to number 11 behind it. Weitz has said publicly that he never received a penny of the writing money, and that the credited pair collected in excess of $500,000. The song has since appeared in Austin Powers and countless other productions, and it still earns. Ed King left, joined Lynyrd Skynyrd, and wrote the riff to Sweet Home Alabama. Number 7. A Whiter Shade of Pale by Procol Harum. Released in May 1967, it went to number 1 in Britain for 6 weeks and number 5 in America, and it became one of fewer than 30 singles in history to sell more than 10 million copies. Gary Brooker sang it. Keith Reed wrote the words Nobody Can Explain. and Matthew Fisher played the Bach-flavored organ line that made the whole thing float. John Lennon liked it enough that he was said to play it over and over on the record player fitted into his Rolls-Royce.
As the miller told his tale.
Procol Harum never came close to it again. What the song did instead was embed itself into British life. It has been recorded more than 900 times. In 2004, the performing rights body, PPL, named it the most played record on British broadcasting of the previous 70 years. And in 2009, it was named the most played song in British public places, pubs and jukeboxes included, of the previous 75, ahead of Bohemian Rhapsody. That volume of airplay is a fortune, and in 2005, Matthew Fisher went to court to claim a piece of it. He had waited 38 years. The High Court awarded him 40% of the music copyright in 2006. The Court of Appeal agreed he was a co-author, but stripped the money back out in 2008, ruling he had left it too long. In July 2009, the House of Lords disagreed, held there was no time limit, and handed him his share of the future royalties. Number 6. Time Has Come Today by the Chambers Brothers. Four brothers from Carthage, Mississippi, who had grown up singing in their Baptist church choir, ended up making one of the strangest records of the psychedelic era. The album version runs past 11 minutes, a cowbell ticking like a clock, echo piling up, and a long instrumental section in the middle that goes somewhere else entirely. Columbia had rejected an earlier attempt at the song, and initially refused to put out the long one. Freeform FM stations played it anyway, partly because 11 minutes gave the disc jockey time for a cigarette. A station in San Francisco cut its own short edit, the label copied the idea, and by October 1968, the trimmed version had spent 5 straight weeks at number 11. The album climbed to number 4, and in January 1969, they played the song on The Ed Sullivan Show. Since then, it has become shorthand for the entire decade. If you have watched a documentary with helicopter footage over Vietnam, you have heard it. It has been used across films, series, adverts, and video games, and covered by the Ramones, Joan Jett, and Steve Earle with Sheryl Crow. The money, though, has been a sore point. In 2012, Lester Chambers went public with the claim that he had seen no royalties from the record for decades, and his story became a rallying point in the wider argument over what artists from that era were actually paid for songs that never stopped selling. Number 5. Classical Gas by Mason Williams. Mason Williams had a day job in 1967 as head writer on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. Over one weekend, he picked up a nylon string guitar he had been neglecting and wrote a short instrumental for playing at parties. He called it Classical Gasoline. Warner Brothers put it out in April 1968, with the Wrecking Crew backing him and a young Mike Post arranging. Williams played it on the Smothers Brothers show alongside a film montage of thousands of paintings. The single reached number 2 on the Hot 100, blocked only by The Doors, topped the Easy Listening chart, and sold over 1 million copies. For one television appearance, he played the piece on a guitar made of clear plexiglass. At the 1969 ceremony, it won 3 Grammy Awards for instrumental composition, instrumental performance, and arrangement. Then came the long tail, and it has been an extraordinary one. An instrumental has one enormous advantage. It can sit under anything: television, radio, film, advertising, waiting rooms, documentaries, guitar shops. In 1998, BMI presented Williams with a special citation because Classical Gas had logged more than 5 million broadcast performances, making it the most played instrumental composition in the organization's entire catalog. By 2008, the count had passed 6 million. Every one of those plays is a payment, and it dethroned a record that had stood since 1953. Number 4. In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida by Iron Butterfly.
In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
The title exists because someone couldn't speak clearly. Doug Ingle had been drinking when he tried to say, "In the Garden of Eden," and drummer Ron Bushy wrote down what he actually heard. The band kept the mistake. The recording swallows an entire side of vinyl, over 17 minutes of it, including a drum solo that generations of teenagers have attempted badly. Radio couldn't use that, so an engineer at a Detroit station cut it down to under 3 minutes, and Atlantic released the edit. It reached number 30, which is the only time Iron Butterfly ever appeared in the American Top 40.
In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, baby.
The album was the thing. It sat on the Billboard chart for years, has been certified 4 times platinum in the United States, and was reportedly Atlantic's biggest seller until Led Zeppelin came along. It effectively bankrolled the label's expansion. That kind of catalog does not stop earning. The full-length version has been used for its sheer overwhelming length in films, most memorably at the climax of Michael Mann's Manhunter. The Simpsons built a whole gag around a church organist sneaking it into a Sunday service, credited to a fictional I, Ron Butterfly, which introduced it to millions of people who had never bought a record in their lives.
In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, honey.
Number 3, Angel of the Morning by Merrily Rush.
Just call me angel of the morning.
Chip Taylor was sitting at a piano playing one of his own earlier songs very slowly. He had written "Wild Thing" and slowed down. Its chords turned into something completely different. He offered the finished ballad to Connie Francis, who turned it down as too risque. Evie Sands recorded it first, and her label went under weeks later. In January 1968, a singer from Seattle named Merrily Rush cut it at American Sound Studios in Memphis with Chips Moman producing, and that was the version that landed. It reached number 7 that spring and topped the charts in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand.
Just touch my cheek before you leave me.
Rush never had another hit anywhere near it. Chip Taylor, meanwhile, had written one of the most durable songs of the century, and he owns the writing on all of it. He was born James Wesley Voigt, and he is the younger brother of the actor Jon Voight. Juice Newton took it back into the American Top 5 in 1981 with a million-selling country pop version. Dusty Springfield, Nina Simone, Olivia Newton-John, and Chrissie Hynde all recorded it. Then, in 2001, Shaggy built his single Angel around the melody and took it to number 1 in 12 countries. Rush's original has been used in Jerry Maguire and in Girl, Interrupted, a film that won an Oscar for Angelina Jolie, who happens to be Chip Taylor's niece.
Just call me angel of the morning.
Number 2, Na Na Hey Hey, Kiss Him Goodbye by Steam. There was no band. In 1969, singer Gary DiCarlo recorded 4 songs at Mercury's New York studio with producer Paul Lika, all 4 intended as singles. They needed something worthless for a B-side, so DiCarlo, Lika, and their old friend Dale Frashuer dug out an unfinished tune from their doo-wop days and padded the gaps with a nonsense chant they never bothered to replace. Mercury listened and decided the throwaway was the hit. DiCarlo didn't want his name on it, so the label invented a group called Steam, put it out on the Fontana imprint, and then hired unrelated musicians to tour as the band, miming to a voice that wasn't theirs. It went to number 1 on the Hot 100 in December 1969, one of the last chart toppers of the decade, and sold somewhere north of 6 million copies. DiCarlo's 4 good singles all sank without trace. Then, in the late 70s, a crowd at a Chicago White Sox game started singing it at a departing pitcher, and the song acquired a second career that has never ended. It is now the standard sound of anyone being sent off, benched, ejected, or voted out, in stadiums and arenas worldwide, plus films, commercials, and covers. Bananarama took their version into the British Top 5 in 1983, and crowds have been singing the chant at departing opponents ever since without any idea where it came from. DiCarlo, who took a third of the writing, died in 2017. Number 1, Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum. Norman Greenbaum was raised in an Orthodox Jewish household in Malden, Massachusetts. One evening, he watched Porter Wagoner sing a gospel number on television, thought he could manage something similar, and wrote the words in about 15 minutes. The fuzzed guitar riff took considerably longer. His record company doubted anyone would play it. Released at the end of 1969, it climbed to number 3 on the Hot 100 by April 1970 and sold more than 2 million copies. His follow-ups went nowhere, bookers grew wary, and by the mid-70s he had drifted out of the business entirely. Then, in 1987, the producers of a film called Made to Order asked to use the song, and something shifted. Music supervisors discovered that this one record fits almost any scene that needs lift, swagger, or a wink. It has since appeared in more than 50 films, among them Apollo 13, Ocean's 11, and Guardians of the Galaxy, in dozens of commercials from Gatorade to Toyota, and in television shows beyond counting. It played over the memorial segment at the 2022 Academy Awards. In Britain, it has been a #1 single twice more, without Greenbaum singing a note, once for Doctor and the Medics in 1986, and again for Gareth Gates in 2003. Greenbaum no longer owns the publishing, but as the performer, he is paid every time that recording is used. He told the New York Times, plainly, that because of this one song, he has never had to work again. If one of these brought a memory rushing back, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We dig into the stories behind the records you grew up with every week, and we'd love to have you along. And tell us in the comments which one-hit wonder you'd have put at #1. Thanks for watching.